Hi there, Richard at Ride and Zoom here, doing my latest video review. This one is the third series of Father Ted. So, on to the video. Random pop fungo, just a decoration, Marty McFly, Back to the Future, so one that's loose and one there, so why not? Okay, yeah, so not too badly lit, bit of a glare from the screen outside window, and blinds up, it's still quite bad, but if I cut it off, that was the job. So yeah, on to Father Ted Series 3, so yeah, having rewatched these lately, I've got to say I absolutely loved it. I think there was one weaker episode in there. It still wasn't bad. In fact, having not watched it for years, it was pretty funny. But yeah, as much as I love Series 2, it probably had a couple of weaker ones. Though even the weakest one in this, episode 7, I thought was still pretty good. So yeah, definitely my favourite series so far. So let's get started. So episode 1, the old episode list. That's a great one. Are you right there, Father Ted? So this is basically the episode where everyone thinks Ted is a racist. It's pretty funny. Opens with Ted living in a luxury palace in Dublin with versions of Dougal with Jack and Mr. Doyle, but far better versions of them. And everything's well until Ted, the accountant, I don't know why accountants are looking through their records, but when we get the accountant wants to discuss some of Ted's expenses, and sure enough, he's back in Craggy Island immediately after. Yeah, pretty funny way of like Ted finally getting to leave and then immediately thrown out back to Craggy Island just because of how the money was resting in his accounts. So yeah, basically, yeah, the Chinese, Ted in his boredom does a Chinaman impression with a lampshade, and because he's been away for so long, he's unaware of this Chinatown community, and 3 Chinese people are watching it at this exact moment he does that impression. It's absolutely great. Ted's attempts to prove he's not a racist fail repeatedly and repeatedly. He invites them round to talk, and a perfectly square bit of black dirt on the window gives him a Hitler mustache look, and he just looks like a proper fascist when he gets mad that they're like not listening to him. Yeah, Ted, one of Ted's friends turns out to be a Nazi worshipper and ends up sending all of his Nazi memorabilia to Ted when he orders like new stuff for the house, and that ends up getting put up. So Ted finally makes ground with like proving he's not racist by doing a following one of Dougal's rare bits of good advice, a like event to like promote cultural diversity in Craggy Island, namely Chinese people and people of Craggy Island, and it's just so dumb. And yeah, the great part about the ending is the Chinese think it's complete garbage, but are just grateful for the free drink. So that's what Ted needed to do all along. It's pretty funny, yeah, watching Ted attempt to prove he's not a Nazi fascist going wrong every time. But great, it's just brilliant that Ted is the person they think about like is a racist when he's like the last person to be racist. Yeah, very funny, and definitely in the top 10 of all the time. Yeah, maybe one day I'll do a top 10 of all time. I'll just rank all 25 episodes. Next one is Chirpy, Burpee, Cheap Sheep. Basically, there's a sheep competition, and the favour of Chris's odds are too high, and Ted's bet central heating allowance on him winning. And then there's like talk about this beast of Craggy Island that's like terrorizing sheep, and the sheep starts to like burp and become terrified. And you use it. Basically, long story short, the sheep is found. Yeah, they cure Chris the sheep, and then when he gets out of the house, because he's living at the parochial house, because they're the only people that can fix Chris. And there's a great bit where you see 2 photos of him looking at like exactly the same photo from a different like angle, and they're convinced he looks completely different. And yeah, they cure Chris. Chris somehow realizes the beast is nothing more than a giant stereo in the trees. It's something great. Turns out his owner did set the whole thing up just so Chris's odds could get worse. He could make more money betting on his own sheep. It's very dodgy. And in the end, just everyone seems like think sheep are like geniuses. Like the Chris the sheep loses all faith in his owner, who can't bear to be looked like. Oh, don't look at me. Bit. It's pretty damn funny, and yeah, it's just an hysterical bit. It's a great bit. There's too many to be honest, but yeah, I like this one. I asked my wife which she thought was the weakest episode. She actually fell asleep during this one, so she considered it to be that, which is shameful, but no, well, everyone has their least favorite. I mean, it's not the best episode of all time. It probably is lower down, like the bottom half of episodes, but it's still pretty good. Third episode, now this is one of the best of all time, but probably top 5 to be honest. Speed 3. Having only watched Speed 1 recently, I never saw Speed 2, but I've only heard about how terrible Speed 2 was, and that's basically what this is, a sequel, like a Speed that could be even worse than Speed 2. Basically, there's a milkman who's scoring of all the women somehow, and Ted gets him fired for showing what he gets up to on his rounds, and Dougal gets the job as the milk driver instead, since he does absolutely nothing in the parish. And the milk man, proves the milkman puts a bomb on there, which is going to blow up when, well, it will be armed when Dougal goes over 4 miles an hour, and it will go off when he goes back under 4 miles an hour. So it's basically Dougal pretty much being forced to drive around a roundabout over and over again above 4 miles an hour. It's just some hilarious moments. Ted and a couple of other priests, no idea how to save him other than doing a mass. Even Dougal knows what a mass is. That shows how clearly terrible they are. And in the end, they watched the Poseidon Adventure solely because Gene Hackman plays a priest in the film. I watched all, like, what I imagine, an hour and a half, 2 hours of it, just to realise there was no help whatsoever. And it's all saved when Jack's become fond of this brick. Mr. Doyle's like read a magazine where you reckon putting a brick on the floor just to liven it up, and they put the brick on the milk float and save Dougal. And the milkman has been like on the phone thinking he's talking to Ted the whole time, and then of course the milk float heads straight to him and blows up. It's great episode. It's just so damn funny. It's quite sweet watching Ted get emotional about Dougal going off for his job. It's like quite a cute father-son relationship there. So yeah, very, very good. Next episode is The Mainland. This is great. Anyone who loved One Foot in the Grave will love it. I can never do the impression perfectly, but basically Dougal's been watching One Foot in the Grave, has no memory of the episode other than the catchphrase. And they basically go to the mainland to Jack to get an eye test, Ted win money on the bet he made, and Dougal to go to the caves. And yeah, Ted thinks that he should do the impression when he sees Richard Wilson. Richard Wilson doesn't take too kindly to it and like beats Ted up every time. It's great. Yeah, like 3 times it happens. First, like Ted does the impression thinking it'll be hilarious. Then when Ted just casually says, "I don't believe it," when in the caves, Richard Wilson attacks him again. And then when later when Ted just angrily shouts out, "I don't believe it," Richard Wilson hears it echoing through and starts screaming. It's great. Basically, they all get lost in the caves. Dougal starts starving to death because he didn't eat breakfast, and the worst thing possible happens. They bump into Noel Furlong. It's absolutely hysterical. Graham Norton's last appearance, just this great bit when he just randomly bursts into song. He's doing Bohemian Rhapsody, and it's, as the script book I've got says, it's a very, very theatrical performance. It really is. I can do any justice to it by doing the impressions, but yeah, you got to watch it. It's incredibly funny, and yeah, it ends with him screeching and having getting the caves fall in on him, and in the end, Noel's just happily singing more Queen songs, not worried about being buried under a load of rocks. It's great. Even his youth group have had enough of him and abandoned him to go to Paraguay. It's very funny, and watching effectively how Ted is like the only normal person on Craggy Island, be as dumb as Dougal and Jack are on the mainland, in the mainlander's eyes, is pretty funny. And Mrs. Doyle and Jack get themselves arrested. Jack, after his eye test, gets robbed by crows, finds his way to an AA meeting because he can only see the word drink on a piece of paper, goes there, tries to get a drink, and of course nothing happens, finds his way to a pub later, and one of the other AA guys finds him. It's just perfect joke. You got they all think Jack is an alcoholic trying to get clean, basically. He sees Jack goes into the bar demanding drink, gets given a bottle of vodka, and the guy from AA stops him. It's just the perfect scene. He's like, "I know this hurts, but you're going to thank me." Then next shot is an ambulance zooming past. And then Jack's thrown in prison later. That's great. And Mrs. Doyle and her friend Mrs. Deneen go to a coffee shop to have a chat and start fighting over who pays the bill. It's absolutely great. They get arrested as well. And in the end, Ted's forced to choose between, after they and Dougal escape from the caves, between paying a £200 fine or letting them all spend a night in the cells. Of course, Ted chooses to them the night in the cells, but he thinks Dougal's sort of trying to make him pay up money he won on the bet and is forced to pay. And it turns out Dougal wasn't trying to do that at all. It's very funny. So yeah, definitely. And at the very end, Richard Wilson's on a bike on Craggy Island, completely lost, goes to Ted's door for directions, sees him, and then does the "I don't believe it." It's perfect. Yeah, again, much like Speed 3, definitely in the top 5. Hell, even just Noel doing Bohemian Rhapsody and Fat Bottom Girls would get into a top 5 of anything. But yeah, it's a perfect episode. I'm doing this in one video, maybe only 8 episodes, but hell, series 2 had 11 and this only has 8. But yeah, this is basically part 2, Disc 3, Escape from Victory and Kicking Bishop Brennan up the arse. 2-parter. Basically, Ted is the manager of an over 75s football team, and Dick Byrne is the manager of the other one, and they've got to play each other for I don't know if it's just a friendly or some sort of cup game, but yeah, they've got a match on, and of course Dick and Ted have bet over who wins. The bet is that, well, they ignore a cash bet in favour of a forfeit system where they both have to do something really embarrassing. You know, if Dick loses, he has to kiss Cyril on the cheek, and if Ted loses, well, you find out at the end of the episode he would have to kick Bishop Brennan up the arse. Although it suggested that that wasn't the initial forfeit. But yeah, basically, Ted Star Striker dies, and Ted's like not sure if he'll be able to play or not. And Jack drinks himself unconscious on dreamy, sleepy, nighty, snoozy snooze drink, which Ted was taking because he became paranoid that Dick was trying to like bug him to like learn his tactics for the match. It's pretty damn funny. Dougal, the physio, gets promoted to watching the corner flag to keep them safe, and of course in the end he actually gets to do that, relieved he's not been given any stupid job, and has to stop Cyril stealing a corner flag when it looks like Dick's team is going to win. So because Dick wants a souvenir. And yeah, basically Ted, with no options left, his star striker dead, and Jack completely out of it. He is forced to borrow a remote-controlled wheelchair and pair of fake rubber arms so that he can control Jack in a remote-controlled wheelchair. And yeah, their team win, but Ted is soon busted for cheating. Dougal tries to give him a drink to celebrate and forgets that he's got the fake arms on, so he can't take it. And yeah, off-screen, Ted is busted. So yeah, then the extra special forfeit from Dick is revealed. It just ends like Dougal fainting, Mrs. Doyle screaming, and Jack waking up from his unconsciousness. And then yeah, great episode. It's a good one, but of course you kind of got to take the two into parts. It's one long story. And yeah, basically part 2 opens Ted imagining that when he kicks Bishop Brennan at the arse, he'll be sent to a really terrible parish, like what Bishop Brennan wanted to do in series 1, where he'll be sacrificed to a volcano god. Pretty funny. And yeah, Ted too scared to do it. Bishop Brennan's there. You know, he's been lured there by Dick, who's told him that an image of Bishop Brennan's appearing in the skirting boards, even though Bishop Brennan's been there twice in 3 years. Sure enough, he shows up the next day because Dick makes sure. And yeah, he also demands proof, so Dougal has to take a photo. It's pretty funny. Bishop Brennan's a PA, the most sarcastic priest in Ireland, Father Jessup. He is a great one-off character. It's just everything he says is sarcastic, and Mrs. Doyle just doesn't understand anything he's saying. It's absolutely great, and yeah, he quickly forms a rivalry, we'll call it, with Jack. Jack, he basically demanded Jack, there's a biscuits in front of Bishop Brennan. He demands that he apologises rather than like beat him to a pulp. Jack does a very sarcastic apology to Bishop Brennan. He gets down on his knees and does a weird like rabbit noises. It's great. And in the end, yeah, Bishop while Ted is like going off to kick Bishop Brennan at the arse on a second attempt, Jack is in a fight with Jessup and locks him in his underpants hamper. It's so bad. And of course, Mrs. Doyle, when he begs her to like let him out, she thinks he's being sarcastic and just leaves him in there. And he ends up being trapped in there for days. It's great. And yeah, Dougal comes up with a way that Ted can get away with kicking Bishop Brennan up the arse. Just act as if nothing happened. It's great, and it makes you wonder, could you actually do that? I mean, Dougal's completely right. The likelihood of Ted kicking Bishop Brennan up the arse is just not likely at all. So he does it. Dougal just says, kick him up the arse and act like nothing happened, and that's what happens. Yeah, Bishop Brennan's in like shock, but Ted just acts as if nothing happened and carries on as normal. And yeah, it takes Bishop Brennan like a day to realise what happened. He's just, when he's meeting the Pope, just realises it, shoves the Pope to the ground, and pretty much tells the piece watching him to piss off. He's like, "What are ye looking at? Huh?" It's great. And Ted of course gets completely drunk celebrating and asks Dougal to print multiple copies of the photo of him kicking Bishop Brennan up the arse. And I keep saying it over and over because that's what the characters in the episode do. It makes it really, really funny. So yeah, Ted thinks he's got away with it, lies his way to like getting out of trouble, swears on God, heaven, everything. All lies. It's so bad. And yeah, in the end, Dougal had the 10x10 picture printed. Basically a giant picture of Bishop Brennan being kicked up the arse by Ted, and yeah, he sees, and it's just at the end when Bishop Brennan sees it, he just calmly just has Ted come and have a look, and then just charges him. It's great. Ted falls over, Bishop Brennan just kicks him 20 feet into the air. It's great. So yeah, very funny. Part 2 is funnier than part 1, although part 1 is still great, but yeah, they kind of work as a whole, and it's definitely right up there. It's just Bishop Brennan's last appearance, and it's just a perfect one. Next episode. Now this is what I thought was the weakest one. Night of the Nearly Dead. Mrs. Doyle wins this competition to have this singer called Owen McLove come over, and he's all these old women are just obsessed with him. They want to mother him, and they find out he's there, and these old women, so like probably like 100 people try to invade the house to try to get to him. Yeah, he's got his good moments. It's funny watching Dougal and Owen McLove sort of get along because they're both like total weirdos, and they've got Mrs. Doyle is like faints at the sight of him. She bakes him a cake jumper. She's not particularly grateful for, and it basically ends like when as they finally break into him. Owen McLove is in at like 6 a.m. and realise their husbands need them more because their husbands are like so useless. They do things like try and make a cup of tea and burn the house down. So women leave. They realise their husbands need them more than Owen McLove does. So they leave. It's pretty fun. Yeah, it's a good moments in there. Like the ending when Ted gets to go on TV. Thinks he's got a great shot winning the grand prize until a religious question comes up, and what is the Pope's real birth first name? Ted has no idea. So yeah, it's a good episode. It's got its good moments. But yeah, I was reading the script and they talk about how they were starting to run out of ideas, and that's why Jack has this like strange speech about them coming in the night. It's funny, but yeah, you sort of realise it's a out of character moments like that work as a one-off, but yeah, they really shouldn't be done at all. But what can you do? To me, it's the weaker episode in the series, and not the worst episode of all time. That goes to one of the series 1 episodes, but in the bottom, without doubt, probably bottom 5. Yeah, and then the finale is, of course, they want to get mixed up with the actual film, Going to America. Basically, Ted gets offered the chance to move to LA to be a priest there. He all gets approved, but he can't bring himself to tell Dougal, Mr. Doyle, and Jack that he's going. He's like, it's great, he tries to tell Dougal, sees Dougal's little puppy, Mr. Doyle's little girl in a dress, and Jack is a kind old man. And he just every time he tries to tell them they can't come, he quickly like backpedals or says something different, and it's just it's quite funny watching it. In the end, Ted just decides just to go to LA and not tell them. But yeah, changes his mind when he realises his role there will be presumably to help deal with the gangs, using like sports to help the gangs not kill each other. It's a bit worried about how there's thousands of like deaths by drive-by shootings every year, so he quits when he realises that's what his role was going to be. And of course, that's kind of similar to what Bishop Brennan wanted him in that parish he was going to send him to help manage a couple of the tribes who hate each other and don't believe in God. So yeah, he stops, comes back, tells Dougal it's better they all stay in Craig Island, and Dougal and Mr. Doyle admit they didn't really want to go to America anyway. Like guilt they're putting Ted through, and they didn't really want to go. It's great stuff. And yeah, and then it ends with that Ted sort of like sitting miserably on a chair, realising he's stuck with Craig Island forever. But then again, there's a kind of like there's like a fondness for a place you're familiar with. So yes, Ted's dreams will never come true. But it's like not. Craig Island isn't the worst place in the world, basically. Even his dream of going to America wasn't such a good one after all. But yeah, it's a good one. But yeah, of course, tragically, the actor who plays Ted Dermot Morgan died the day after the episode finished filming, and you just wouldn't believe it. I mean, yeah, just look at him. Ted is just so full of life and energy. The actor's giving his all. Like, there seems where he's like dancing and singing to the song Shaft, and yeah, pretty tragic. I mean, they already said they were never going to end. I mean, they were never going to do more. Yeah, they probably would have done the old special in the future because all shows do that, but it was never going to continue after like 3 years and 25 episodes. But yeah, pretty terrible that happens. Dermot Morgan, may be grey, but he was young. I think it must have been early 40s, mid 40s when the show started. So yeah, he wasn't even 50 when that happened. So yeah, pretty tragic. But yeah, the ending, for anyone who doesn't know this, again, script book confirms all this, so there's probably like some bonuses on here, which I should really check out sometime. Basically, another part of the episode is Ted is helping this suicidal priest realise that he shouldn't try killing himself. Succeeds. Ted singing the song Shaft, makes the priest like, makes him much happier, cheerful until he listens to Radiohead's newest song and becomes miserable again. And basically, at the beginning of the episode, Ted saves that priest from like throwing himself off the window. And originally, it was going to end sometime later. That priest is again wanting to kill himself. Ted would like show up, but like join him on the windowsill, but they cut that. I mean, they said it wasn't the actor's death that made them do it, but they did realise it wasn't that funny a joke in the first place. But yeah, it ends with clips from every episode going back to the beginning. It's definitely the right way to go. But yeah, very funny. So yeah, real shame that there can never be more Father Ted. But oh well, it's probably best. Some shows go on way longer than they should, and Father Ted pretty much didn't. I had a few weaker episodes. To me, Civil's one's got the weakest number because it's still. The show's not really finding its feet, deciding what it wants to be, like all shows season 1. Even The Simpsons, which had like, season 1 to 8 are the best ones, but easily. Some people said season 3 to its golden years, but having watched a lot of season 2, I'd actually put season 2 as part of it. But yeah, season 1 is as good as it was, even had its weaker episodes. So it happens. You know, even Futurama, which is got a perfect first series, is still weaker compared to what comes later. So it's just how it is. But yeah, that's it then. So at some point, I'll definitely do a another video. I'll just rank the episodes. It should be quite good fun. Maybe we'll get Jim on here to chip in and do her piece as well for that, because yeah, I'm sure we'd have a different opinion on each one. But yeah, it's definitely, without doubt, some of season 3s are at the top. But that's it. So yeah, please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time.